My name is Patricia Michaels, and Ba'u my native name, Water Lily. I'm from Taos Pueblo, but I reside in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I love doing fashion, textile design, but I do a whole lot of other things as well. Typical day is I have office hour in my head first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee before I can even begin to converse with anybody. I have to go over my agenda very peacefully so that I'm prepared for the many hats that I wear. Like yesterday, as I was waking up for the day, and my days can start anywhere from 3 in the morning to 8 in the morning. Yesterday was at 7, and I prepared for a meeting in the morning. Well, from there, after the meeting, then I had another meeting to go over my new collection and to look at the production and prices, and then give new information about my new production that is going on so that we can price all of that. Because as the seasons change, I do have to take to my team all my new products. So as I bring new designs to my team, then they look over everything with the costs and the expenses that I have given them, and then the pricing goes in. From that, then I have been taking the time. My son is visiting from Barcelona, Spain, and my daughter from the Netherlands. They're both art college students. And my son's currently recording a music video and music. And my daughter is in design. So we have wonderful, heated, and exciting discussions about art, music, design, international travels, and it's exciting because I have my daughter's in her 20s, my son is in his 30s, so I have this wonderful array of generation and influence to work with. And then I get a phone call, a check-in from my companion James Duran, who's currently a sheriff at Taos Pueblo, and so he gives me updates how to stay safe, how to continue in business, how to continue in culture, and what we need to do to be smart and productive and still mindful and caring. Um, and then is the so then that's like the first half of the day, and then I check for emails to see about how my upcoming shows are coming along, and that entails shows in Manhattan and 2 shows in Boston, 2 shows in Santa Fe that are coming up, and that's all. And then another show in Santa Fe for Indian Market, celebrating the 100 year of Santa Fe Indian Market. So that is 6 shows with fashion this year, and oh, and there's one in Taos for an opening of the museum. So that's 7 shows, and then so by the end of the day, in between meetings and agendas starting off the new year, I I'm constantly with my books designing and then preparing to be in the studio. So then in the evenings, right now, because of preparing the new calendar, in the evenings I'm able to go into the studio and then work on my designs. For my design work, I would say that I spend on an average day anywhere from 7 to, at the least amount, I would say 5 hours, and the most amount, I would say 20 hours. It's really a juggling act because when you like on the 5 hour days, the only reason it would be maybe a 5 hour day is there are logistics that you have to go through, responsibilities that you want to make sure that your branding stays true to your branding. And then also, because I'm a traditional woman from Taos Pueblo, I highly take time to participate and be a part of my Pueblo and my culture. Then on the 20 days, that could be at least, um, I would say, 3 weeks out of every month is a 20-day I come from a traditional family at Taos Pueblo who also were very expressive in the outside world with dancing and performing anywhere from powwows to movies and as well as the stage and museums and wherever they could express their talents of performance art, my family was there. And since I was born into this family, being the second to youngest out of all the grandchildren, I had nothing but hand-me-downs. So that meant either, taking up the hems or taking it in, or then when it was finally, and I was growing out of it, then we would take everything down. But it was always an adjustment, always an adjustment. And nothing ever matched. It was always, getting something from Alice, from Donna, from Esther, Kathy, it didn't matter. I was constantly getting a hand me down. And for me, it was like receiving a trophy because everybody in my family were championship performers and also in competitive world winning at powwows. So I always felt like I was wearing these badges of brilliance and honor. But at the same time, as I was adjusting these beautiful regalia pieces that I wore, I always thought if maybe if it looked like this, and it was always transforming in my mind. And every once in a while, I got extra material or beads to make it a little bit my own. But we were always making new stuff. But so I always had the old stuff, but which was great because that's how I learned. I learned from the honor of receiving something that was handed down from the talented family I came from. Once I was finished at high school at Santa Fe High, I decided to work for the Santa Fe Opera in the costume department because I wasn't sure if I really wanted to then go to college for fashion. And I had a huge passion for textiles. I didn't know if it was possible to have both. I mean, when you're in high school, you just don't know, we're going, and as artists, and of course, like I decided that's what I wanted to go into. So then I jumped right into going to the Institute of American Indian Arts and the Community College of Santa Fe and then Chicago Art Institute. But in that time, what I realized is that as artists, we're learning about tools, we're learning about our strengths, we're learning about how we're going to fit in with our vision. And we never have to have any fear of at that moment fitting any kind of mold because this is a time when you're in education that you get to really explore all the different avenues that you're in. And then with that, I had my own voice and I did my first show at the Institute of American Indian Arts at the museum. And I was so honored to have the late Alan Hauser and Lloyd Kivanyu, who was the founder of the Institute of American Indian Arts, at my show. And they gave me a standing ovation. They supported me. And from there on, I had these wonderful, brilliant, accomplished artists who saw my unique vision. And then finally, gosh, like 25 years later, when I got invited to audition for the Project Runway, that's when the world finally saw that the diversity I did was completely acceptable. I was no longer this crazy designer, and and now I've just been able to do shows all over the world. And before that, I pushed myself into to arenas to do shows all over the world, but it was just I was like, well, that's not native, and now it's native design is being celebrated on so many levels that it's an exciting time because there's other designers who are now doing contemporary and are doing a brilliant job that it's a really exciting time. So sometimes just being passionate and just following and staying true to who you are is really all that matters. It's just being true to who you are and never fear that, just celebrate it.